The launch of Fortnite OG Season 6 has been an interesting one for sure. Kevin the Cube is back with seemingly no explanation, the red cube is nowhere to be seen, and many people are thinking that Epic just scrapped it. But is that what really happened, or is there something deeper going on here? Well, first of all, Epic absolutely didn't just forget about the red cube or decide it wasn't canon anymore. There was a lot of stuff about Season 6 OG that was rushed, but this wasn't one of them. We know this because at the new rune sites in Season 6 OG, you can find these items called Havoc Stones, which are red cube versions of the Shadow Stones from Chapter 1 Season 6. They have Revan's runes and his color scheme, and this isn't even the only hint that Epic have left us. In the files for later in this season, we can see that when the cube island goes around to each rune, it will be absorbing energy just like it did, and some of the corruption on the Loot Lake Island will be red. So there are still traces of this red Havoc energy across the island. But what about the cube itself? Why has it turned back to purple? This is the main thing that has everyone really confused, because for a while, we just assumed Season 6 was going to be red themed. I mean, it made sense, but then the promo for Season 6 got leaked and it was all purple, and then some foreign Twitter account tweeted about the cube changing color, then Fortnite posted this, then the moon changed color. It was just like, everyone was really confused. So now that we know the cube is back to purple, it's about time we figure out why. Well, at the end of Season 5, Rev and the cube sunk into Loot Lake just as Kevin did back in Season 6. The red energy definitely didn't just dissipate into the water, because otherwise the water would be red still. But what else is beneath the lake that this energy could have gone into? The 0 point. And by that I mean the remnants of the 0 point, because we do obviously know there are some shards of it still flying across the Omniverse. What if the majority of this red Havoc energy was transferred from Rev and the cube into the 0 point in an attempt to corrupt it? Honestly, I feel like this would make quite a lot of sense, and could also make the future events of OG really interesting. Let me explain. If the red cube was sent into Loot Lake in an attempt to corrupt the 0 point with its red energy, who would be the most likely to be behind this? Well, I think it would be the Dark Presence from Chapter 6's storyline. If you weren't aware, the color scheme of Loot Lake when it was red was very similar to the Spirit Realm, even these gold effects as well. And it's also quite likely that the Dark Presence was the one behind this red butterfly too, as we know he was mixing his energies with the 0 point shard, which could have definitely created a red rift butterfly. But here's where things get a little more complicated, and if you're excited to find out what I mean by that, drop a like on the video and subscribe if you're enjoying it so far. And without further ado, here we go. It's theory time. So I want to paint a bit of a picture, a bit of a timeline for you all. We know that in early Chapter 6, the Dark Presence was attempting to mix its energies with the 0 point shard. We've already discussed how that was likely what created the Red Rift butterfly, but how would this butterfly have gotten from the Spirit Realm into the OG island to carry out the plan of corrupting the 0 point? Well, at the end of the Death Star sabotage, when a bit of the debris hit the portal, we know part of the Spirit Realm was freed onto the island. This included the Demon's Domain POI and also potentially the Red Rift butterfly. So let's say now, start of Season 3, this butterfly is out on Chapter 6, it's just kind of floating around, having a good time, and perfectly for its plans, Midas sets up a portal to the Chapter 1 map. In the next update, this portal was mysteriously shut down. Why? Because something got through that wasn't supposed to. This portal was very likely the thing that allowed the Red Rift butterfly to enter OG. That would explain why it was kind of such a random addition and why it was never spoken about again, and it would also make sense for the mission of the Dark Presence butterfly to be corrupting the rift, creating a cube that it has control over, so then it can get into Loot Lake and get really up close and personal with the 0 point. If you understood all of that, good job, because that's probably the most complicated part of today's video. Now, I did mention before as well that if the Dark Presence was to have taken control of this Red Rift butterfly, that could make the future events of OG really interesting. And I don't just mean in the obvious sense that it would change stuff, I mean this butterfly specifically is very important. Reason 1 being the obvious one, the end of Season 6 event is centered around a rift butterfly. I would say it's really likely that the butterfly in this event won't be our usual blue one and will instead be the red one we've seen as a motif throughout Season OG, or sorry, the OG mode in general. And if we do touch this red rift butterfly at the end of the butterfly event instead of the blue one, I'd say it's also entirely possible that we won't be brought to a nice rainbow Loot Lake. This original rift butterfly saved us, it rescued us. This blue color is a motif of healing, we've seen it in Revan the Cube, we've seen it in the 0 point itself, and we know there are 3 other distinct colors in the Fortnite storyline: purple meaning corruption, gold meaning royalty, and now we know that red means havoc. So the world that we get brought back to after we make contact with this red rift butterfly could be entirely different. Maybe the 0 point will be exposed, maybe they'll be the demon spires. We genuinely have no idea, but I think the butterfly event is going to be different this time, and Epic are leaving some pretty strong hints towards that as well. If you go onto Fortnite OG right now, the news tab says "Seek the light as darkness falls across the island" in Fortnite OG Season 6. The cube has ascended into the sky, exposing corrupted locales and their loot, wicked whirlpools, and a floating island with a fate seemingly tied to the smallest of wings. Them putting a direct allusion to the rift butterfly at the end of this post with a ... seems to heavily imply that there's something deeper going on with this specific thing in the story, so that is really exciting. Another event that could be heavily altered by this story of the red cube's energy going into the 0 point is the unvaulting event. Imagine during Season 7 people are still wondering why the hell the cube sunk into the lake red and came out purple, and then at the end of OG Season 8 when we have the unvaulting event, we go into that vault and we see that the 0 point is red. I can imagine everyone in their heads, they'd just be like, oh my god, it's clicking. And I feel like this would be the most straightforward way to explain all of this, and it would also really shift the whole story. It'd probably mess up Midas's plan with the 0 point as well. Like, it would just add layers, and that's what we need. We need layers and we need depth. So there we go, we've gotten my crackhead, somewhat reasonable, hopefully pretty likely theory out of the way. Let's talk about what we actually know about the story of Chapter 1 Season 6 OG. As per usual, we have greatest hits quests, which in the past 2 seasons have been present characters from Chapter 6 in OG, and this season is presumably no different. I mean, it's hard to tell. We know that the Visitor was a present time character, we know that Drift was in Chapter 6 and then came to OG. Dire Wolf, we honestly have no idea, but we can still look into his dialogue. For the quest search chests at Leaky Lake or Haunted Hills, he says find something worth hunting for. Could potentially be talking about the cube going to the 0 point, maybe. This one's pretty interesting. For enter a rift in different matches, he says honor the red moon. It's also interesting to note that the phases of the moon are visible on the Dire Wolf's bandana. I don't exactly know why rifts would be connected to the moon. I mean, the bunker color was connected to the moon color, and there's rifts in the Wailing Wood bunker, so maybe? I don't know, but I am glad that that moon thing was explained to be telling us about the cube colors. I honestly expected them to maybe just never talk about it again, but now that makes sense. You know, the moon was red, then it went to purple, the cube was red, then it went to purple. Actually, I am pretty sure as well that this is the original Dire Wolf going back to Chapter 1, because he says, these familiar hunting grounds. I was just checking if he's ever been an NPC before, but it was only during Chapter 2 Season 8, so we can assume he's just come to each island since then, and now he's back in the OG reality. And that's pretty much it. All the other quest dialogues up there for the sake of it. I guess not everything has to have lore in it. Also, for everyone who was upset about the state of OG, Fortnite have put out an official post explaining everything and updating everything. So quad crashes are coming, the graphics are getting fixed, the POIs are getting fixed because they looked atrocious. It's good that we're giving Epic feedback, but let's not just hate on it, because then that's just terrible. When everyone's yelling on Twitter, it's not exactly a nice place to be. So I'm just going to stay on the theory side of things, and I'll keep making theory videos as well. And I'll see you guys in the video next week for the release of Fortnitemares in Chapter 6 Season